Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Ag Director Bridgette Readel. We are happy to have you joining us this afternoon. It is bright, sunny, and even on a little bit of a warm up today. I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's about 60 degrees, and boy, I got to tell you, that's actually doing pretty well. The voice joining me today is an entirely different one. I'm going to have him go ahead and introduce himself as my co host for the day.
Well, it's not Dean, that's for sure. My name is Justin from the Lakes Country. Some of you might know me as JD Lake if you've listened to other programs on the stations. I was here seems like a minute ago, Bridgette, and now
Right.
I'm here again. Yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me back. And this little preview, I'll be here on Monday by my
Yes.
lonesome. There's no Bridgette on Monday either.
No,
Yikes.
Monday I've got to take care of a different appointment that day, so I apologize. But I'm leaving you in solid hands. One with Addison, two Don Kinsler will be joining you. So really, there's no way things can go wrong.
Well, is there any way? I mean, can't you schedule that manicure appointment for another time of the day? Does it have to be at 1 o'clock?
I think anyone who's listening who knows me just said, "Oh, dude, you're so off on
That's
that one."
I know, bad joke. Cause
Yeah.
just assuming because she's a woman. No, I'm just teasing.
Right.
But
No, well, actually, my big question for you is if I'm sitting in 60-degree temperatures, what's it like at the studio where you are? Is it nice?
it is actually. It's beautiful here. It's probably about the same. I was kind of looking at the weather forecast, being that Dean isn't here. So today, about 60, right, and in the Fargo area, bright and sun. I mean, I should say it's not clear. There's clouds, but it's beautiful here. And then tomorrow, I'd say tomorrow and probably Monday, ironically, are going to be the pick days. And I mean pick because of the temp. It's going to be close to 70 both days. The weekend isn't going to be bad, though, however, folks. It's going to be about 60 both days. So in just, gorgeous like today. But just the temp's going to be a little lighter on the weekend than we would like. And then I saw kind of the long range. Dean talked about this with the LRC. With things popping, going into Monday, it will be close to 70, and then Tuesday, and basically as far out as I think the following week, it will be in the 70s, even getting close to 80 a couple days. Just kind of looking at that again here, but yeah, getting close to 80. Basically, that following weekend, the Friday the 15th and Saturday the 16th. But yeah, it's going to be a gorgeous stretch. So I think we're, I don't know what Dean would say, but just looking at the again, couple weeks out. I think the 50s stuff, at least for the most part, and these 30s at the night, for crying out loud, I'm sure you talked about this, and probably Dean did a few days ago. But for crying out loud, we got alerts on hard freezes the other night. Like, gosh,
Yes,
what?
yes, we did.
So,
And okay,
oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Keep keep going.
I was just
Go-
gonna say because I walked into a grocery store locally, and of course, most of the planting centers. And this might be more of a question for Don on Monday. Have a lot of their plants out, but the grocery store yesterday during the day, because it's only in the 40s, had blankets on their stuff outside. I mean, have you
Mhm.
heard about? Are there going to be big losses on this front? Coming up here, in the next number of weeks, or can they survive, a couple of these days?
Are you talking bedding plants or in the field? That's my
Bedding
first
plants, yeah.
question. Okay, I wouldn't go put any of mine out right now
But
because
I'm talking
we
about even at the
still have.
stores. I mean, are they going to survive
Uh,
just sitting there at the store outside?
you're gonna see frost damage. The big
Okay.
thing is how long was it cold? Was it only down to 30 degrees for a half hour? Was it 4 hours? That'll make the difference. The other thing is when you're in some of those parking lots, you still have heat radiating off the asphalt or off the
The
surrounding
building.
buildings, and that'll
Yeah.
give them a little bit of protection. A little breeze during the night will help keep the frost off of them. But the other thing that why I like to go to a greenhouse that's local versus just going to a big box store because the greenhouses make sure to bring in stuff that's built for this zone that's more hardy and tolerant to our weather. And they do a really great job of sussing out what's important for us to plant here without causing any problems. So, frankly, I'd buy from those guys because they probably have a little bit better quality items that are suited for our region.
Now, I will agree with that with one stipulation because I agree 100%.
Sure.
I mean, they're going to take the best care of those those greenhouses that are, local to your area are going to take best care of the plants, bringing them in, putting them out at the right
Hmm.
time. The one exception there, and it's not by any means like a greenhouse, but Costco actually has some very good plants for outside. I'm serious, and they're all inside, right? So they actually take their. If you've been to the West Fargo one as of recently, or the Fargo one, they have where the carts go. They put tons and tons of plants, and I've bought them year over year. They're pots and other things, and they have like. They're very hardy, but yeah, again, I mean, it's going to be nothing like your greenhouse down the street, that's for sure.
You're talking to perhaps the last person on earth without a Costco membership.
Oh, jeez. Why are we? I'm gonna Addison. Sorry, you can cut my mic. I'm leaving. That's
You
enough.
know what? I'm going to be honest. I don't actually have one either.
Addison. Come
Okay,
on,
that's
man,
not
brother.
due to anything against them. I just have poor financial handling situations. So
What is with the
But you
Costco
also-
protest?
I'm a young guy in my 20s. All my money's going towards streaming services. You have any idea how fast Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and
That's
Amazon
right.
Prime and everything else adds up these days?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I thought Addison, you maybe just didn't need a pallet of granola bars. Now, maybe you and I could split those, but overall, we maybe don't need it.
You'd be surprised. I'm single guy, ladies in the audience that you can call Addison.
Oh, there you go.
There's our number.
Good.
But no, but I go to Costco frequently and buy different things, and it's not all like buying in just massive
Right.
bulk. So anyway, didn't mean to
That is true.
sidetrack too much.
That is true. And Justin made reference to our phone number. So if you want to check on how Addison is doing or look into Justin's social calendar, you can do that today on the JLA Insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. We appreciate all the calls that we get, and especially as we launch into a lot of headlines today. I'm trying to keep an eye on email over here. So my email is ag@flagfamily.com. And I'm not even having any glitches on the live stream for a change. So the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities is on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. The glitches are not because of Acres TV. That's a whole different problem that happens some days when I'm remote, but not today. So, Justin, I got to ask. I sent you a pile of things for us to talk about today.
You did.
Which one was the most interesting that you want to start with?
Which is the most interesting? I'm just pulling it up again here. Probably the let's see, you're down below the some of the cattle ones, because I had questions actually for you on the cattle. You were talking about, well, there was that one particularly about the theft in Ohio of the
Ohio,
Holstein.
let's go there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, let me recap that, and then let's talk the questions. So this happened earlier in the week in Mercer County, Ohio, where there were 5 dozen, actually over, it was 64 head of 13-week-old Holstein steers were stolen from a farm. First question, were there cameras? Not really. It was more of a remote area. Each calf weighed about 250 pounds, so it was easy to back up a sizable trailer, maybe even a bull rack, load them up. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. They rearranged the panels and pens in order to create a central alleyway to just load those 64 head up and drive away with them. They are not RFID tagged.
Oh,
They have
no.
not been found. And so the value was $2,000 per animal. So we're looking at well over $100,000 in a theft right now.
Now, I guess first question for me: do you see these a lot? I mean, in a year, wherever in the country.
Cattle rustling has increased over the last 2 years due to the value of
beef
the
prices,
animals.
Yeah.
Yes, we've seen it with hogs. Hogs are a little tougher, right? You can't just lead hogs onto a trailer. They take a little more time. But with beef, even to the effect that 1 or 2 animals are missing because somebody's probably taking them home and slaughtering them. When you're taking 64, you have a bigger plan.
Well, not
You're
only
either
that,
going
but
to
these
try
were
to
calves,
sell
were they
these.
not?
Yep, they're about 13 weeks old.
So
they were steers, so they were beef animals. I mean, that's what they were raising them for, was for beef.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean that's and I mean, how do you? I mean, again, thinking from the criminal mind, of which you're not, obviously, Bridgette, but how do you even offload those? I mean, it's not like one day you can show up at your property. If so, let's say I've stolen these last night, and all of a sudden I have 3-4 dozen of these, whatever that theft was, and people are like, "Where'd you get all these?" So are they getting rid of them on a 2 here, 3 there, and how do they hide the fact where they came from?
Well, if the guys who swiped these are listening, we'd love it for them to call and give us their ideas and reasons why. But I thank you, Addison. He quickly put up our phone number of 701-293-9000, the JLA Insurance phone line. There's a couple of things that they might be doing. You're exactly right. If you have a small herd already in small acreage, somebody's going to notice when you suddenly double or triple your herd size. Could they be in a remote pasture and then slowly sold on private treaty sales, meaning you're not running through a sales barn, you're just calling your buddy up and going, you know what, I got a couple extra head. Or I'm going to take them in and have them processed at a butcher where I don't need to provide documentation of where I got them from, and then sell off the halves, the quarters, the whatever of beef too. So there's a lot of different ways that this could happen and where they could go.
Now, again, I have for the audience, I have some farming experience and ag experience. So I'm not completely green here, but I do have to ask this question. So you said these are steer. Is that the correct name
Uh-huh.
for a calf, or is a calf a calf?
Okay, so calves are calves. Calves are
Yeah, that's what I thought.
young
Yeah. Okay.
dairy or beef. A cow, she's got an udder, produces
Yep.
milk, she can have a calf. Bull, that's the he's going to be able to inseminate the cow for a calf.
That's right.
The steer, we took a bull, castrated him, and so he is no longer a viable bull, but his job is to continue to eat, gain weight, and be a productive beef animal. How's that?
Correct. That's good. So, because my question is, as far as the youth of, or the youth of these particular ones that were stolen, when would they be
hmm
prime? How long does that take?
I think at 13 weeks, they're pretty young. We would be looking for them to uh, be a bit older before we'd be taking them in.
I mean, is that going to be a whole
I'm gonna have to
season? Is
think
that
about.
next year, or what is it?
Okay, so 13 weeks. We're really talking. They're only 4 months old, 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not very old. I would be looking at more towards a year, but a lot of it has to do with what's their rate of gain, how long does it take to get them there, and how big do you want them, right? So I would say I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to raising a dairy animal for beef. I can ask that question, but if you just think about beef animals, they're older when we take them in for processing. We want to get them up in a higher weight gain as well. And it's going to take a while. They're only 250 pounds right now.
Now, you also mentioned in the article about that they weren't RFID'd. Is that the only
hmm
way to identify animals? And if I'm a farmer, why am I doing that or not doing it? Is it too expensive? Is that why these people didn't do it, or just wasn't that it wasn't soon enough?
hmm
They thought, oh, we'll let them get to 15 weeks and then we'll do it.
Right. The RFID, like those radio frequency tags, have a cost associated with them.
Sure.
And it's more expensive than just having an ear tag that has identifying markings on it or a brand. And a lot of times, not every state in the U.S. requires branding. In North Dakota, we brand our beef animals, but we generally don't brand our dairy. And then when you think about ear tags, they probably have markings on them and maybe even identifying marks to the farm or the ranch. But it's like cutting off an earring. You can just slide a wire cutter up there and cut that little metal piece and take the ear tag off.
Okay,
So they'd be hard to track.
interesting. And then my next question might be, I don't know if we're getting close to a break. I don't know if you want to answer this on the second half, but so, I go by my place the other day, or I'm on my way actually over to Ottertail, some out Lakes Country, hence, the name. And I'm over by Dent specifically, and there's a big cattle farm over there. Actually big, but big for Minnesota. And I see,
hmm
because I was just shocked, I saw, 2-3 dozen calves out there. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize they had that much going on. But I guess, do you find, there's a lot of in the news, obviously, about beef prices, and they're trying to grow the herds, but then there's also the cost. So you have, the cost of feeding the animals, et cetera. So you have some people trying to offload some of their herd as well, just because they can't afford to feed them. What do you find going on in the area right now? Are typically more often than not people growing their beef herds or not?
That is a bigger question. So hang on to that. We want to talk about it. And also the reason why you probably saw a lot more cows that caught your eye right now. We'll do that after the livestock report, ironically enough, from the American Ag Network. We are back into Weather and Ag in Focus with a question or some comments, perhaps, on the JLA phone line. That is 701-293-9000. Mary took advantage of it because she used to work at a plant nursery from the sound of it. And Mary, it sounds like you have some comments about cold weather and some of our plants.
Well, yeah. Don't be in too much of a hurry because the ground is cold. It was last weekend at my place at the lake. It was 39. That's not good. Yeah,
it's not.
So, the other thing is that about the nurseries versus box stores and whatever. It's not just the kind of plant, but it's also the care of the plant. The nurseries I worked at, those plants were never overwatered. They were never underwatered. They were fertilized regularly in a very measured way, metered way. And, you know, you go to some of these places and they're sitting there dry. Well, that's a stress. Now they're overwatered. Now that's the stress. Now they're dry again. They may look fine and they just aren't going to perform as well, in my opinion.
Oh, Mary, I think you are spot on, and I greatly appreciate you letting us in on some of those backside secrets of what happens at those nurseries and garden centers in the region. And I hope it warms up so we can get everybody out there and shopping for them. I want flowers at my place soon.
Well, it's funny when she mentioned cold. Real world scenario is I like to plant grass, right, year over year. And so I called Scott's up. I have this it's a mixture that I like to get, and then I have this extra topsoil mixture that I get from Menards that I put over it. And I called Scott's up and I said, hey, what are kind of the low temperatures that this can handle if I were to put it out? Because she mentioned the low temperature, but at my place last weekend, the high temperature was close to 70, right, or around there. And I thought, it's probably time. I don't want to like ruin the grass. Hence why I called Scott's. And Scott said, no, we want the soil temps at 50 degrees. Before you plant that. So, I mean, obviously it's not going to be that at night, and I'm not sure it's that consistently right now.
It's not consistently. If you have black soils, if you don't have ground cover on it, it's going to warm up faster than if we have some ground cover on it. But in the general sense right now, you got to go looking, right? If I was to go check in my yard and put a soil probe in, maybe in my black garden space, I would have over 50 degrees. But in a lot of my flower beds, I don't think I would because I'd have a lot more plant material in there. And that's what farmers are facing, right? We don't necessarily like going out when we're sub 50 degrees, especially if we were to get some rainfall. Then we would wind up seeing cold water, and that can be a shock to some of those plants that are out there as well. So I like that Mary brought up a number of those things. So thank you for calling in, Mary. There is an old farmer's, I don't know if I would call it a farmer's wives' tale, but I've seen guys do this. They said, if you can't pull your pants down and sit in the field on the bare ground, you're not ready to plant corn yet. That's your monitor if the soil's ready or not.
Bridgette, I just want to start out by saying this is a family show, so let's keep our pants on, folks.
Just giving the example.
You haven't seen how Dean dresses when he's in that room sometimes, have you?
Right.
There's a reason why the desk goes up as high as it does, and why the cameras are where they are.
Nice.
So Justin, before we talk to Mary, you had a question in regards to what are we seeing for the herd size for beef animals, etc.
Yep.
And we want to make sure we answer that. A couple of things. One, we're just coming off of calving season for a lot of folks, right? We're still getting calves. We're going to see folks calving out a pretty big chunk through June because we see those spring calvers that run late. We'll probably see some more calving in the fall. But we're seeing more calves right now because they were all just born. Are farmers trying to expand their herds? That's a yes and a no. If you're in a state that's heavily drought stricken, and in fact South Dakota's drought task force was just assembled yesterday, you may be looking at herd reduction because you don't think you're going to be able to feed all of the animals that you have. In other areas, perhaps western North Dakota, sounds like a great idea. We don't have a drought situation going on. It'd be excellent to be able to buy more animals and bring them in. But we just talked about that theft of those Holstein steers valued at $2,000 a head, whereas those same calves 3 years ago, you could probably bought them for $500.
Wow.
So now we have this giant price hurdle to get over to buy replacement heifers or, additional animals, additional beef animals to bring them in to produce more beef on them. So we're in this catch 22 where we want to expand and we're trying to, but there's some reasons we're not.
A follow up to that, just you've been in the obviously farming a long time. What how many years will it take to for the farmers to rebuild their herds, regardless of where they're at in the country? Let's just say for the U.S. to affect the beef prices significantly. I'm not talking about 10
Well,
to 20 cents here or there.
you want to grow your herd and you're looking at, that mama cow can have a calf once a year, essentially, right? Just like human gestation period, about once a year she can have that calf. You're going to need that to happen 3 and 4 years before you have a significant herd increase. And that's if you have no death loss and everybody stays healthy.
Interesting.
And you can't sell any in there, by the way, because if you sell anybody, you don't have income.
This is true.
So, all right, let's take a peek at what's going on in our news break. But when we come back, Justin and I have way more things that we want to talk about today, and we'll get to as many as we can. Turned out that Monday was a great day to be on the road to Flag a Farmer. And I had with me Blake Sunday from Landmark Companies. They are your drainage leader in the region, and we delivered U.S. flags to a number of farmers out in the counties to make sure that they could fly them off their farm equipment in their farm yards and elsewhere. So thanks to those guys who were happy to see us. They weren't disappointed to see snack bags for their cab snacks. And above all, thanks to Landmark Companies for being a part of that promotion with me this week. My co-host today is Justin from the Lakes. We just keep hitting on whatever headlines we've got rolling. So what do you want to do next?
Well, I mean, we were talking about beef, so you have to talk about the North Dakota Beef Commission celebrating Beef Month, I think.
Oh, my friend, this is like one of my favorite months. It's right up there with the dairy month is June and ice cream month is July. So sign me up. I'm for all of it.
Amen.
So just so you're aware, the Beef Commission's primary focus in the state of North Dakota is promotion of beef products. They, unlike the Stockmen's Association, where Stockman handles things like our brands in the state and a lot of our policy and procedural items, North Dakota Beef Commission is all about making sure they promote what we are doing with beef. So, Justin, it was kind of fun to see the long list of things they've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the beef bingo as an example. That's a month-long promotion. Come on now.
Select grocery stores. I'm going to have to find out which ones, and that's encouraging consumers to add beef to their meal plans. You can get a bingo card that can be submitted via QR code, or you can go find those on the North Dakota Beef Commission's social media like Facebook and Instagram. Now, I know this takes place in North Dakota, but you shop in Fargo, so I bet you can play.
That'd be nice. Yeah, if I hit the right store. And I also noticed, too, that because you can never have too many Bridgettes in this world, there's a registered dietitian named Bridgette Bullinger will speak at the North Dakota Academy of Physician Assistants Conference, focusing on beef nutrition.
It is so rare. I know like 2 other Bridgettes, whereas I probably know 9 other Justins. So this feels odd.
Now, do you know this Bridgette, I'm assuming?
I don't. I haven't met her in person yet.
Okay.
Yet. We'll see. But yeah, she's going to talk to the National Academy of Physicians Assistants Conference, talking all about beef and bringing educational toolkits. I would let teachers know that who might be listening. And if anytime that there are those educational kits available, teachers are always welcome to ask for those things as well. Those are great resources for in your classroom. Like to see kids using those as much as possible.
What could you tell us about, have you ever done the grilling with the governor?
I haven't yet. And in fact, I was going to say, how about we find the date and we just take a little field trip over to the state capitol? I think it'd be fun.
Absolutely.
I would like to argue against that. Last time I was in the state capitol, I was almost kicked out, so I don't know if I would be welcome back.
Well, that goes back to putting your pants on. We talked about this at the beginning of the show.
That is a whole different story.
I'm not sure I need to know. Maybe the statute of limitations is not off for us to know why Addison was almost thrown out of the Capitol. Maybe that's another time.
I'm an exciting character. You never know what I might say.
As far as that character, does that mean you're going to be running in the Fargo Marathon so you can take advantage of the beef refueling station for runners?
I walk up the stairs to get up here and I'm out of breath. I don't think I'm running anywhere.
I just like the sound of beef refueling station. That's
right.
You had me at beef.
What if when you have to stop and charge that EV vehicle, there was a beef refueling station there, like tiny sliders of
I would
beef
buy
with
an electric
horseradish.
car right after the show.
I have a half electric car. Do I get anything out of this?
Well, as soon as I set up my beef refueling station somewhere, I think so.
Yes.
I thought this was awesome. I'm very excited about the fact that there's so many different things that are going on for the month of May for folks to really participate in what's happening with beef. We were talking about how we talk about all the time. Beef's expensive. Let me ask you this. Is beef expensive or is it finally right price? Like for so long, beef producers weren't making squat and now they're making a little bit of money. Unfortunately, we're still having to pay for that as consumers. There's 2 ways to judge that, right?
Well, I mean, since you are a cattle farmer and I noticed that you're now driving a Mercedes, I think beef isn't right priced.
Mercedes. Righto, pal.
Just teasing, folks. No, that's a good question, though. Is it right priced? I don't. You know, I mean, I know there's been a lot of
It's a
ebb and flow
question
over
to
the
ask.
years, and it was pretty low for a while. So probably, I'm guessing they weren't making a lot of money.
No. And we don't have to buy the most expensive cut of beef when we're out there, right? I think we still the most popular cut is still ground beef. It's the most versatile thing that we can do, but we've gotten to the point where we can buy other cuts as well. And as if you're paying attention, you can find them. Sometimes if you're at Costco, I know of other folks that do this, buy the larger cut and cut it down because buying in bulk gives you a cheaper price. Cut it down into what you want and then refreeze it. And a lot of our local butchers would be happy to work with you for that type of thing as well.
Do you know, I brought up Costco because I know they do this with other things, such as we were talking about greenhouses in the beginning. So I
Yeah.
know that they, you know, as an example, they had Easter lilies right out at Easter, and they have the other plants right now. A lot of times they will use, I don't want to say like real local to Fargo, but maybe local to the state nurseries as an example to get some of that stuff. I
hmm
think that's the way they work. Do they work that way with meat as well at all? Do you know? And have you heard that?
Um, so let's talk about butcher shops, and I have some experience with one that's about to be opening out in Bismarck. Yeah, the answer to that is yes and no. Some of those folks, they're able to source beef from local producers. If you think about Josh Alsager in this market here in Fargo, he's down in that McLeod area. He's raising a lot of the beef on the hoof that gets processed and sold through their stores. But there's some times that everybody's buying a sirloin and a beef animal doesn't have 42 sirloins in it. There's a finite amount, and so you can go to regional packers if you want, like Demcota down at Aberdeen. They're bringing in local beef, processing it, and selling it to grocery stores, butchers, and restaurants in the region. So I think we have a combination of the two. You can still certainly buy beef from larger packers. That's a whole nother conversation in itself when it comes to like talking about JBS and some of the other processors. But yes, if that's the business model you want to follow and you want to follow with local ranchers beef, yes, you can. And certainly there's a lot of local ranchers out there that want to make sure you buy their beef direct from them too.
Well, it's interesting too that, you know, I think it's a little bit of a misnomer, and you know, maybe there's some of the audience that aren't farmers that are thinking about this, like, oh boy, I just want to go to that box store, I want to go to the grocery store and get my meat. But
Yeah, it's
some of
easy.
these butcher shops that we've been mentioning, and others, there's one out by me in Frazee that you know, that I've went to, and I was surprised when I went in there. The pricing on things isn't as, you know, you always think like, oh, it's going to be more expensive there. It's not necessarily the case. I thought it was very
No,
well priced.
I live north of Castleton, and the Castleton lacquer plant has always been well priced when you wanted to go in there. And plus, it's that more of a selection. You're not just buying top end steaks. You have the opportunity to find great pork chops, ground pork, ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, all of the proteins that you're looking for. And there's such a plethora there. Plus, you get that individualized one-on-one service. And if you don't know how to cook it, and I will throw my own kid under the bus on this one. She can cook, but she's not confident in it. And she will say, how do I cook this? How do I make a roast like you make a roast? Walking into a lot of those locally owned butcher shops, they're going to walk through that with you. They're going to help you feel comfortable and they're going to explain those things so that you turn out with a great meal. And you shouldn't feel concerned about that or
because you
intimidated.
because you brought up your daughter, how many kids do you have?
I have two. I
Two.
have a son and daughter-in-law in the Fargo Moorhead area, and I have a daughter and son-in-law down in Oklahoma.
And what's the oldest?
He is 34.
Now, how could you have a
I know,
34-year-old
doing
when
the
you
math.
are 30 years old? That doesn't make sense. Or do you just look 30?
I will have to just go with the I look 30 part of it.
I'm just teasing you. No,
Now you asked how old he is, and I'm like, oh crap, how old is that kid?
you had to think. When's your anniversary? No, I'm just teasing.
Actually, I can never remember the year, and frankly, neither can he. So it's easy. We both go.
That's easy. You're both screwing
We
up.
got married. Yeah, we got married a while ago. We don't remember the year.
Well, when you were bringing up the cooking, though, and it kind of, you know, when I talk about, too, the freshness of what's there, too, at these local butcher shops, I just a super quick story. Went in there, got some other meats, but I also decided I'm going to get some beef jerky. I haven't had any beef or turkey jerky in a while. And I bought too much, folks. Let me just put it that way. And I say I bought too much because when I talk about fresh, I thought, okay, but less than a week later, or by about a week, I want to be fair to him. I went in the cupboard to grab some of it, and there was mold on it, and
Oh,
that's not a knock on them. That's actually tells you how
uh-uh.
fresh it is. The preservatives are not
Yes.
many, let me tell you.
That's exactly right.
It's
That's what
very,
makes
very
those
good.
things so awesome. And it probably explains why you're talking to a woman who has 2 chest freezers at her house because I may overbuy
I
that type of
probably
thing.
should have like like done the freeze wrap
Frozen.
on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
didn't, and I just bought too much. Now I know though. I'll go in next time, and whatever I want for a couple days, I'll just buy that and call it a day.
Well, speaking of next time, we've got a next time coming up, and that's one more segment to visit with Justin from the lakes, and we will do that right after this.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I am Justin, finishing out the rest of the show. Justin from the Lakes, we were talking a little bit about cattle at the beginning of and throughout the program. As far as the herds growing and that type of thing. I was looking at a note that Bridgette had in here for not forgetting rodeo and fair seasons coming up. And what that means is, obviously folks have to have their livestock paper needs in order. The people are obviously the fair and rodeo seasons are reminding folks that, any animals coming into North Dakota from out of state require a certificate of veterinary certification, a CVI, in other words, to enter the state. That might be not news for folks that are obviously in North Dakota, but for folks that are coming from outside of. CVI documents that the animal has been checked by the veterinarian to ensure it's free of signs of infectious and contagious diseases, as met health requirements to the enter North Dakota. So if you've already brought that animal in without the CVI, you can contact their office before the event, and that's the state veterinarian, Dr. Ethan Andress. You can contact their office to get that CVI. And then I was looking in here too for horse owners, specifically traveling in during rodeo season. They have an option that is good for 6 months from the date of veterinary inspection, which is kind of nice. Do you go to any rodeos yourself?
No, I was going to ask, have you ever been to, I think the only one I could say yes to was last year when I was at the Minnesota State Fair. They were doing a rodeo there in one of the buildings.
Yeah, that is being again, I live in Lakes Country, but I grew up in Minneapolis, and going down into the State Fair there, I lived there. I knew different vendors, but yeah, I always like to watch that stuff, and they have I'm sure everybody up here knows it's such a turnout for obviously rodeo and just ag in general. Now, have you been to the State Fair here in North Dakota, Addison?
Yes, it's been a very long time. I don't think I've been there since I was maybe 13 or 14, though.
What's the comparison? Would you say is from an ag perspective? Is it about the same? Is it even bigger in North Dakota? Or
that's a good question. You really threw me for a loop on that one, because the Minnesota State Fair, they've got so much going on there. It's kind of hard to compare because that one feels so much bigger than the North Dakota one. But I guess when you compare if you scaled it down, I think maybe the one in North Dakota does have more going on, given the size of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine, it's funny, the ag in general, and I say ag when I'm talking about live animals, has definitely stayed the same throughout the State Fair. The one thing that's changed from when I was younger is that what's called Machinery Hill in Minneapolis or St. Paul, the State Fair, where they actually have literally the combines and stuff. That has gotten significantly smaller, and I don't know really why. I guess over the years, because farming obviously hasn't changed. Well, let me rephrase: farming's changed, but it hasn't lessened. Obviously. You could still find some of that equipment. It just used to be like you would turn the corner, for those that have been to the Minnesota State Fair, and you would turn a corner on I forget what street it is. You look up the street, and it was farm equipment as far as you can see. And now there's everything else up there and a smattering of farm equipment.
Because I'm trying to think, because last year I've been to the Minnesota State Fair the last 3 years in a row. I can't think of where that even is, so it must be a pretty small area these days.
Yeah, it's very small. It's there's a Home Depot building that's way at the other end, and that Home Depot, that's one thing that's taken up some space now. But there's a number of other things, and the Kitty Midway has probably gotten about a little bit bigger in some respects. One thing I wanted to touch on before, and I'm going to bring this up a little bit more on Monday's program. We'll kind of deep dive into this as much as we can, because keep in mind we're going to have Don Kinsler that day too. He's going to be answering some email questions from the audience that have came in as it pertains to some of the folks' garden and even maybe even some of the stuff in the field. But is gas prices, right? We've heard a lot about this over the last number of weeks. And I was looking at agweb.com today. It's something that I'll look at here and again. And I was seeing diesel prices, and this is today, right, are breaking records across multiple states. And the sad thing is, and I hate to end the show like this, but the sad thing is, and relief may not come in 2026. Not a surprise. Personally, I kind of want this overseas thing to end as quickly as possible for a number of reasons. Gas prices being one of them, the urea for fertilizer, all of those types of things, because it's going to cost us a lot of money here coming up, and that's if it ends today, right? It's going to just keep in some ways. If it continues this way, it's going to be even more brutal. But yeah, I would love to get some feedback in email. From the folks on Monday's program, and then we'll also talk about just how it pertains to just people, what they're doing with their fields, right? I mentioned, I think the last time I was on, where people are leasing out their fields a little bit more than they were because of the cost of producing a crop, or producing an acre. So we'll talk about that and more. I join Bridgette again tomorrow. I'm not sure who she has for a guest right now. Are you, Addison?
I think we have, I believe it's Friday, we'll have Greg Hansen on.
Awesome. Well, keep Greg that in mind for your 1 o'clock tomorrow, and Bridgette will be back. And like I said, I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus.